So we're holding Chav Zayin Amid Aleph. We are holding towards the very bottom. We're up to the second story involving Agripas HaMelech. Va'oid Sha'alu. We are 6 lines from the bottom of Chav Zayin Amid Aleph. Va'oid Sha'alu. And they asked further, these are the Shailos that were asked to Rav Eliezer, the sheet on the Mishnah that says you have to eat 14 meals, 2 a day. Rav Eliezer was chayzer. What exactly happened in the previous Gemara? All good questions. But the Gemara continues and he says, "V'ayit shalu kigoynani, like I, sheyesh li shtei nashim. I have 2 wives. Not only does he have 2 wives, they lived in 2 different areas. Achaz b'Tiberia, v'achaz b'Tipayri. 2 wives, 2 different locations, and therefore v'yesh li shtei sukkahs. 2 wives, 2 locations, 2 sukkahs. Achaz v'Tiberia, v'achaz v'Tipayri. So now asks Agripas HaMelech to Rav Eliezer, or the Apotropos of Agripas HaMelech to Rav Eliezer. Mahu, what is the halacha she'eitzei me'sukkah l'sukkah? Am I allowed to go from one sukkah to the next? V'i poter, and thereby I will be poter. I'll fulfill my obligation. So to all of us, this question sounds quite odd, because why not? Baruch atah Adonai Yelina Melech Haolam she'akol nihiyeh v'derei.
Talking about food or meal or general to bring the sukkah? Yes. What's the question?
All of the above.
Yes.
Everything. So the question is, what's the question? Avada. You travel from New York to Jersey to Florida here, you eat a sukkah in every place. What's the shaila? So everyone has to hold on. This is one of those Gemaras that will become clear backwards. We're going to see. Let's just hold it. It's a good question. The Gemara is going to explain in a minute. So Amar Loi, whatever the question was, Rav Eliezer responds, Loi, you're not Yotzei. You're not Yotzei. What did he do wrong? Sha'ani Oimer, because I say, Shashi, apologies. I didn't know you were here. I would have waited for you. Sha'ani Oimer, because I say, Kol HaYotzei Me Sukkah L'Sukkah. Rav Eliezer is a very interesting shita. I hold, says Rav Eliezer, anyone who leaves from one sukkah to the next, batil mitzvasa shel rishayna, nullifies the original mitzvah. Now, what does that mean? We don't know, but in a vacuum what it means is, Rav Eliezer for some reason is learning that you're not allowed to eat in sukkahs at 2 locations. Choose one place and be there the entire yontif. And if you go from place A to place B, not only are you not yotzei in place B, you destroyed that which you did in place A. Now this sounds very odd, very strange. So we have to continue straight into the next Gemara. As the Gemara now is going to quote the Brisa, where Rav Eliezer is going to say this din. Once we understand the Brisa, then we'll have to work backwards and to see what the Shaila was and what the Teretz was.
Even the Mifreya.
Even the Mafreya, again, you eat from Sukkah A to Sukkah B. Not only are you not Yotzei in B, it messes up that which you did in Sukkah A. So Tanya, let's understand this. In the last line of Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, we learned in a Brisa, Rav Eliezer Oimer, says Rav Eliezer, Ein Yotzin Mi Sukkah L'Sukkah. You're not allowed to leave from one Sukkah to the next. Adin. You're not allowed to leave from Sukkah A to Sukkah B. Din number 1. Din number 2, Rav Eliezer holds. Ve'ein oisin Sukkah b'chol shamayid. You're not allowed to make a Sukkah on a Chol HaMoed. You missed day 1, you're up the creek. You can't make a Sukkah on day 2.
What if it's already made?
What if it's already made, meaning, and you just didn't sit in there? Interesting. So, very good. What the Rav Ram is pointing out is, what's the issue here? Is the issue building the Sukkah? Or is the issue being in the sukkah? From the wording in the Gemara, it sounds like the issue is building. Vein oisin sounds like it's a building issue, which we have to see in a moment. V'chachamim aimrim, which is even worse.
I think it's saying that you should identify where you are.
No, that's what part A is clearly telling us, but he's pointing out a very interesting idea. Why does it say in oisin? Well, it's a problem building the sukkah? No, it's a problem, like you just said, identify a sukkah that's yours. And if on the 3rd day of sukkahs you build a new sukkah, your sukkah has no identity. So let's get there. That's Rabbi Eliezer. Yaitsim Sukkah l'Sukkah. You could go from Sukkah A to Sukkah B. V'ayis in Sukkah v'chol shalmayid, and you're allowed to build your Sukkah on a chol hamayid. Vishavin, and both Rav Eliezer and the Chachamim agree. Vishavin, and they agree. She'im nafla, that if your Sukkah falls down, shechayzeru bayna b'chol shalmayid, they're allowed to rebuild it. So again, Machlokes number 1, can you go from one sukkah to the next? Machlokes number 2, can you build your sukkah on chol hamayid? Din 3 that we all agree is you're allowed to rebuild it if it falls down. So finally, after 6 minutes of suspense, says the Gemara, my time with Rav Eliezer. What in the world's going on here? What's this, Rav Eliezer? You can't go out from the sukkah, you can't do this. What's going on? My time with Rav Eliezer. Says the Gemara, Rav Eliezer has a very unique drasha. Amar Kra, says the Torah, Chag HaSukkah yista'aseh lecha shivas yamim. The yontiv of Sukkot shall be made for you for 7 days. Darshins Rav Eliezer, Asei Sukkah, make a Sukkah, Hare'uya. Now this word Hare'uya, as you see, is a little bit questionable how to read the next words. Either it's Asei Sukkah l'shem Chag Shivas Yamim, or Asei Sukkah Haru'uya l'Shiva. Let's not get held up on the wording over here. I don't know if you see in yours, you have a little aleph over there that sends you to the different girsayis over here. But either way, what's the Gemara saying? Rav Eliezer holds your sukkah needs to be a sukkah for 7 days. And if it's not a sukkah for 7 days, it's not a sukkah. Like Ramesh said, I like that lashon, your sukkah needs an identity. And if it doesn't have a 7-day identity, it's not a sukkah. A fascinating idea. Which means, I have a sukkah built in Florida, I have a sukkah built in Jersey, and I'm in one sukkah for 2 days and one sukkah for 5 days. I was where? Nowhere. Why were you nowhere? Zok Rav Eliezer, your sukkah needs to be a 7-day sukkah. And if you don't have a 7-day sukkah, you have nothing. And now we already could understand what. Oh, we're about to see in a moment. The Rabbanan argue. Yeah. Can you imagine? We had to be in one place for 7 days. Can you imagine?
I'm also assuming that
Halavai.
Like if you're going to somebody else as a guest, that's not like.
We're gonna get you. So the Rabbanan are about to argue. Before we get to the Rabbanan, let's first see the Rabbanan. Rabbanan hold.
Wait, I guess it explains the no-flow. That the idea is that it was Raoi le-7.
The Gemara is very good. The Gemara is going to speak that out, but we can even ask better. What's the chiddush?
Like lighting candles, the same thing. Like if it was Raoi for half an hour, even though it
that's a whole machlekes over there. It's a whole machlekes. It's halakha is a mitzvah. That's a whole machlekes over there.
No,
that's what we paskin in a chanam.
I think that's the same idea.
Yeah.
It was Roy.
Correct. Roy. Very nice. That's what Rav Eliezer says. I'm sorry.
What if the government says you can only have it for a few days?
So you're asking. Rabbi Kogas is pointing out how in the world in Manhattan people go and they plop sukkahs down and they give them a fine. Say there, the restaurant says, I'll pay you $10,000 fine, no big deal, I'm making a lot more money. Question is, was that sukkah roi for 7 days? Was it roi for 1 minute? Or maybe it was. Similar to you're saying. If they say you can't have your sukkah, and the shuls have these issues in certain places, they put it up. What?
Your Yerushalmis have it.
Yeah, Yerushalmis, that's it.
Suspension portion.
Listen, Yerushalmis have different rules. Is there a government? You know what I'm saying? They have different rules over there, what's going on in Eretz Yisrael. But yeah, it's a very good point. According to Rav Eliezer. But Baruch Hashem comes on the Rabbanan, and they say, Hachi kamarachmana. How do they darshan the pasuk? Again, what are the pasuk say? Chag Sukkah sti'asel chashavas yamim. Say the Rabbanan, Hachi kamarachmana. Asei sukkah bechag. It just means make a sukkah for Yontif. They darshan that when it says make a sukkah for 7 days, it means for 7 days you need to have a sukkah, as we would have thought to darshan, which means you could build a sukkah, which means you could go from sukkah A to sukkah B. The Rabbanan have no problems in life. Vishavin, what do they all agree to? She'im nafla, that if your sukkah fell, shechayzer obayna isay b'chol shamayit. Says the Gemara, pshita. What's the chiddush? According to Rav Eliezer, if it fell down, you can rebuild it. What's Rav Eliezer's whole din? You need to have a 7-day sukkah. Shkayach. I built a sukkah for 4 days. It fell down, and I rebuilt it for 3 days. Why would that not be a 7-day sukkah? What's the chiddush? The Gemara goes so far and asks. Answers the Gemara, a fascinating idea. Ma'u detema, you know what you would have thought? Hayachritahi. This is a different sukkah. It shows you how far this idea of a 7-day sukkah goes. It's a different sukkah. What do you mean it's a different sukkah? I took the same piece of canvas and I put it back up. I took the same board and I screwed it back in. The Havamina it's not a din in a board. It's not a din in a physical. It's the same structure. No, in halacha, in lamdis, is this a 7-day structure? The answer is no. The haraya fell after 4 days. So so I would have thought that this is a different entity and it's not a 7-day sukkah. Kamash Malan, the Rabbanan agree, you can rebuild in a Cholamayid. But now we go full circle and now we understand what was the original question that they asked Agrippas. He has 2 wives in 2 locations. He asked Rav Eliezer, can I go to one for the first days, one for the second days? Says Rav Eliezer, no way. Why not Rav Eliezer? Because Rav Eliezer is this unique shita that you need to have one location, one identity, one 7-day sukkah. And if you don't, you got nothing. So he said to Agrippas, he said, what are you doing? No. When you leave your sukkah, you're batel your mitzvah. Now we also understand that why are you not allowed to build a sukkah on a Cholamayid? We see a unique chiddush. It has nothing to do with Hilchis building on a Cholamayid. That's a different halacha that you're not allowed to build in a Cholamayid. Here, you know why you can't build in a Cholamayid? Because if your sukkah wasn't up on day 1, 2, and 3, and you built it on day 4, you didn't have a 7-day sukkah. Your sukkah needs to be 7 days. It is true. I was bothered a little bit also. Why is it ein oisin? It's the wrong wording. It's an interesting wording. The wording sounds like it's a building issue, but that's the Gemara's teaching us that it's not a building issue. And of course, the Chachamim disagree, and the Chachamim say no. You darshan the pasuk wrong. As long as you have a sukkah, you're good. You could go to the in-laws, you could go to the parents, you could go to wife number 1, you could go to wife number 2. Well, I hope not. All is listen in the Lakewood Mishpacha. This is Heintika Raid. One wife is in Eretz Yisrael and one wife is in America. You can fly back and forth. So, for those who don't know, Kamash Malan says the Gemara that. Lakewood. Yavada, Hatamei Rabbanim, Matziv. Okay, weiter. Kamash Malad says the Gemara that the Chiddush is even Rav Eliezer agrees you can rebuild the Sukkah Cholamayid because it's a different Sukkah.